Hey guys, how's it going? Preparing here. Today I want to give you guys a little bit of insight. We got the kill. We finished Inferno on hardcore, and we did a really good job. But a lot of people are wondering what our game plan was like because a lot of people are interested in playing games the way that we do, and possibly succeeding at it as well. So I want to give you guys a little bit of strategy tips that we used and how we planned out essentially this whole idea of beating Inferno on hardcore. So I gotta tell you guys a story. I've been pretty good at video games for a very long time, and I really have never been good or haven't really played like RTS games very much. But when StarCraft 2 came out, I was into the gaming scene. I was kind of curious, like, what are these guys doing? How are they thinking? How are they developing a strategy within the game? And even though I really didn't play StarCraft 2, I was really taken by how they were breaking down the ideas, the process of playing out a game. So I'm going to use these terms because that's really how I learned them. There's terms of the MicroStrategy and the macro-strategy. Those are very, very important terms when you're trying to plan out an idea here. So let's get started with that. So, macro strategy. How do we do it? How do we get it done? Well, the idea is if you're playing hardcore and you actually want to succeed at it, you want to have the greatest reward for the lowest risk. That's always going to be your primary equation. However, you have to understand that your lowest risk is going to come from gear. It's going to come from information. Information is going to come from your experience, your practice. I guess you can call practice something separate as well. But essentially, my point is we gained a lot from having soft core counterparts to our characters and having soft core experience. So our goal essentially was to play hardcore. Like, we are hardcore players, but we didn't start hardcore for several weeks, and we didn't do that because we really wanted to understand the game, understand the boundaries of our classes based on gear, and so on. It's really important because if you're playing hardcore for the first time, there's going to be a lot of cases where you die, where you just didn't know stuff like that's going to happen. I'll give you guys an example. Like, one of the last few days I was playing softcore, I ran into like an illusionist grotesque pack, and like I instantly died when I killed them because they all exploded all at once. And there's stuff like that. That's just one example of hundreds that you really need to be aware of. So it acts as a preventative measure when you're actually playing on hardcore, because you die in softcore, you lose 20 seconds. You die in hardcore, you lose 3 days. So information from experience, from practice, and the knowledge aspect is probably the most critical one. And another one is teamwork. So when Crippy started hardcore, his softcore character was a monk, but he didn't really want to play a monk because I was playing a bard. If he was going to play a monk, we'd have the same weaknesses and the same strengths. Originally, we were hoping to have a larger team on hardcore, but up for the task, it was just Crippy and I, man. It's the only guys that manned up at the time, I guess you can call it. So he understood that he had to play like a ranged character, and he really tried to adapt to that. He had a little bit of a greater challenge than I did because I practiced so much on a barb. I was confident that I could beat the game on hardcore on a barb because I have all the experience, because I've done it already, and because I know how the class works and the kinds of level of gear that I need to progress throughout the game. And also in terms of macro strategy, you have to keep in mind that when it comes to practice, we used a direct source of practice. So what we would do is we would try to match our gear on soft core based on what we had on hardcore, and we would see if we could clear zones with reasonably safe levels of risk. So that was very, very important. Knowing that we could do all of this kind of eliminated a lot of the uncertainty that really leads to a lot of deaths in hardcore. Now, when it comes to the MicroStrategy, it's all about how it works in situations. So you need to plan out all the situations, all the possible reactions. Like when you're in a dungeon, let's say, and something happens, you need to have your reaction to that problem predefined. So let me give you guys an example. You know, we always want to have a way out, and that way out is dynamic, because sometimes the way out isn't the end of the instance. Sometimes it's, you know, the beginning of the instance. Sometimes it's the waypoint. Sometimes it's a, you know, clever use of banner teleporting. So when it came to our death or Crippy's death on the Soul Reapers like a week ago, you know, our plan was, you know, try to make it out the end of the instance. We just needed to get out of there. There's no way we can beat those mobs. We just got to get out, and then we'll deal with it. But you know, it didn't work out. But we still had a plan. We were very close to executing it. But if we didn't have that plan at all, our chance of success would have been close to zero. And having a way out is really the main concept behind what you do when you're actually playing the game. You see, in Diablo 3, there's a lot of situations, some of which have a very clear way out, and some which have no way out at all. For instance, when you do a boss, let's say like Siegebreaker, you'd want to practice that on softcore until you know you have absolutely zero chance of dying, because there's no way out. If you pull Siegebreaker and you're like, oh man, I can't kill this boss, you're dead. So if you have no way out, you have to make damn sure that you are capable of you know, staying in there and finishing the task. But when it comes to a way out, that's really how you base how you're micro. It's the micro, man. Like when you run into a champion pack, it can be the easiest shit in the world, right? But you always want to drag it all the way to the beginning of the instance, because sometimes with champion packs, some of the mobs get lost, so you might be facing fewer mobs at the same time, and even if they're easy, it might take too long, so they might enrage. What do? If you're in the middle of the instance, they enrage. You know, certain classes cannot get out of this situation. And, you know, you want to drag them on top of waypoints. You want to drag them at the beginning of instances, at the end of instances. And you want to do this because you need an immediate way out if something goes wrong. So if something goes wrong, you have that way out. If something goes wrong, you don't need to rely on, like, you know, a lucky spell or possibly running away. So you need to know how to plan these situations out so the risk is minimized. And following on risk, you also have to analyze each individual situation. You see, we did all of hardcore, just Crippy and I. If we had more people, we would have had more options, but we didn't. So our whole goal was reaching Diablo and at least one of us killing it for a world first. That's what the goal was. But you know, if Crippy had to sit out or if I had to sit out, that's just how it is. We want to minimize risk. Like, you know, I killed Asmodan solo. It didn't make sense for Crippy to come in because there's more risk. Like, he can die, but I can just solo the boss. It'd take about the same amount of time. And same goes for like Rakanoth, Iskatu. There's a lot of bosses where you know, it didn't make much sense for both of us to go in. And also when it came to certain instance clears, like, you know, as a barb, you're really good at close quarters because you don't need to kite as much as a ranged class. So when it came to zone clearing, I was the one clearing a lot of the dungeon levels. But when it came to like the open area, like the you know, the siege quest in Act 3, like Crippy just did that all by himself. Like I had no business doing that stuff. All the mobs in there are like terrible for melee, and it's a wide open zone. You know, I'll let Crippy do it. And at the same time, when it came to managing this risk, we always progressed together. So what does that mean? Well, in hardcore, you die, you lose everything, you lose your progression. But if you have two players who are at the same quest, if one of them dies, the other one is still safe to that quest. So that's a very important fact, because people die. Well, let's get real. Like, I died 2 times, Crippy died I think 3 times. So it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But you have to prepare for it. And the way that we prepared for it is, if one of us died, the other did not progress at all until the other one was also, again, level 60 and geared enough to move forward in progression. So because we used this strategy, you know, we never lost progression. We lost maybe like a quest here, a quest there because of you know, certain deaths, but we never really lost that much. And that's why we were able to eventually grind through all of hardcore, reach the end, and make that push on the final day. So I hope you guys learned a few things. You know, when it comes to these Iron Man challenges, these hardcore challenges, being prepared and having the right people there with you to beat these challenges, probably the two most important things that you can do. So, hope you guys enjoy my little talk, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.